Chapter 7. Handling Exceptions and Testing. In this chapter, we will cover different ways of handling exceptions and testing. You will learn how to do the following. Understanding messaging exception strategies. Configuring the choice exception strategy. Configuring the reference exception strategy. Configuring the rollback exception strategy. Testing with JUnit in muleSP. Introduction. Mule errors are represented by exceptions, so when your endpoint, router, component, or any other processor fails, it throws an exception. When an exception is thrown, you need a way to handle it. In Mule there are different types of exception strategies. You will have a look at them in this chapter. There are two places where you could configure exception handling strategies, on the service and on the connector. The src/test/ directory in every muleSP Maven project incorporates both unit and functional tests. Understanding messaging exception strategies. Mule calls for the messaging exception strategy whenever an exception is thrown in a flow. All exceptions are handled through the messaging exception strategy. There are 5 types of messaging exception strategies. Default exception strategy. Catch exception strategy. Rollback exception strategy. Reference exception strategy. Choice exception strategy. The catch exception strategy. You can define a catch exception strategy to customize the way Mule handles messages with errors. A catch exception strategy catches all the exceptions thrown within flow and processes them. From the error handling palette group, drag catch exception strategy and drop it onto the canvas. Getting ready. In this section, you will see how to use the catch exception strategy in Mule Studio. Getting ready. Double-click on catch exception strategy and configure it. Getting ready. How to do it. In this section, you will see how to configure the catch exception properties in Mule. In the Catch Exception Strategy Properties panel that appears on the screen, enter a name for your catch exception strategy in the name field under the General tab. Check the Enable Notifications checkbox to instruct Mule to send an exception notification to a registered listener, say, the Mule Management Console, whenever the catch exception strategy accepts and handles an exception. To enter an exception, enter information in the Execute When field to indicate the kind of exception the catch exception handles when it resides within a choice exception strategy. Use case. HTTP inbound endpoint receives a message through the custom Java component and processes it through the flow. If the execution is successful, return a Java component message. If the execution fails, then log the current message and return a Java component error response. You can define only one exception at a time. Configuring the choice exception strategy. A choice exception strategy catches all the exceptions thrown within its parent flow, examines the message content and exception type, and routes messages to the appropriate exception strategy for processing. Getting ready. You can define a choice exception strategy to customize the way Mule handles a message with an error based on the message's content the moment it throws an exception. Usually, you can define more than one exception strategy within a choice exception strategy. How to do it. From the error handling palette group, drag choice exception strategy and drop it onto the canvas. In the choice_exception strategy box that appears, double-click on the configuration icon in the header. How to do it. From the error handling palette group, drop another catch exception strategy or rollback exception strategy icon on the choice_exception_ strategy box. In choice exception strategy you can define one or more exception strategies, but in catch exception strategy you can define only one. How to do it. Use case. Use a choice exception strategy to enable Mule to make decisions about how to handle each error that occurs in a flow. A choice exception strategy can evaluate the exception type of each message that throws an exception in this flow and route them to one of 3 exception strategies. A catch exception strategy to process and discard all the already processed exceptions. A second catch exception strategy to process all the validation exceptions and send them to an invalid orders queue. A rollback exception strategy to roll back the order transaction in order to retry processing in the parent flow. Configuring the reference exception strategy. Use a reference exception strategy to teach a flow to employ the error handling performance defined by a global rollback exception strategy. In other words, you must ask your flow to refer to a global exception strategy for instructions on how to handle errors. Getting ready. Reference exception strategies are created as global elements. You can create one or more strategies or reuse the ones in the flow throughout your Mule application. Create global exception strategies such as catch and rollback. Choose the one which your exception strategies refers to. In the following screenshot you will see how to configure the global element. Getting ready. How to do it. Perform the following steps. From the error handling palette group, drag and drop the reference exception strategy icon onto the canvas. How to do it. To configure the reference exception strategy, double-click on components and select a reference name that was created as a global element. How to do it. Configuring the rollback exception strategy. You can define a rollback exception strategy. This makes sure that a message that throws an exception in a flow is rolled back for reprocessing. Use a rollback exception strategy when you cannot correct an error when it occurs in a flow. Getting ready. The rollback exception strategy is used to loop the executions infinitely until the conditional exceptional strategy becomes true. Let's say for example, we have a server with account value equals 0. Now if 50 requests come simultaneously and you want the server to handle not more than 50 instances, you will set a rollback exception that sets the count variable to 0 each time it reaches 50. This process is looped infinitely. How to do it. Usually, you can use this rollback exception in a transaction. If the transaction fails or if a message throws an exception while being processed, the rollback exception strategy rolls the transactions back to where they exist in the flow. If the inbound endpoint is transactional, Mule delivers the message to the inbound endpoint of the parent flow again to reattempt processing. How it works. A rollback exception strategy gives a message a few attempts to move through the flow successfully before the transaction is declared as failed and the message is consumed. For example, suppose you have a flow that involves a bank transaction to deposit funds into an account. You configure a rollback exception strategy to handle the errors that occur in this flow. When an error occurs during processing, a flow external bank account database is temporarily unavailable and the message throws an exception. The rollback exception strategy catches the exception and rolls the message back to the beginning of the flow to reattempt processing. During the second attempt at processing, the database is online again and the message successfully reaches the end of the flow. Mule attempts to deliver the message again when your flow uses one of the following two types of transports, transactional or reliable. Testing with Junit in Mule ESP. Junit is a framework for implementing unit testing in Java. An open-source Java testing framework is used to write and run repeatable automated tests. In Junit 4.0, we do not need to extend from the Junit framework to test case. Also, there is no need to use the prefix test with the test method. You can run the test using Junit 4 test adapter and the @name syntax, which already has been introduced. In the Dropbox integration example, you will learn about Junit 4 and Selenium testing. Getting ready. Create a new project on Mule to test with Junit using the following steps. Open Mule Studio and enter the workspace name as shown in the following screenshot. Getting ready. To create a new project, go to File, New, Mule Project. Enter the name of the project, Dropbox_integration, and click on Next and then on Finish. Your new project is created and you can now start the implementation. Getting ready. How to do it. In this section, You will see how to configure the Dropbox connector in Mule Studio. Navigate to the Dropbox_integration.mflow file in the Global Elements tab and click on the Create button. Go to Cloud Connector, Dropbox. Here you need to enter the API key or the secret key. You also have to generate this key on the Dropbox site. How to do it? Click on the Message Flow tab and drag the HTTP endpoint and the Dropbox Cloud Connector onto the canvas. Here you need to select the reference name, which was created earlier, and select the authorized operation. How to do it? Now drag the HTTP endpoint on the canvas and configure it. How to do it? Drag the choice router and two Dropbox connectors onto the canvas. You are creating two operations now, one is for creating a folder and another is for deleting it. How to do it? Double-click on the choice router to configure it. Here you can assign the following condition: if operation equals to create F, it will create a folder, otherwise it will be deleted. How to do it? To configure the Cloud Connector, double-click on the Create Folder connector. Here you can select Operation Create Folder and write an expression #payload Dropbox path. In the same way, you can create or delete operations on your own. How to do it? To create a third flow, drag the HTTP endpoint onto the canvas and configure it. After this, you have to add static resources handler manually as follows: http static resource handler resource base equals $app.home/docroot default file equals home.html/http static resource handler. How to do it? Create a docroot folder inside src/main/app. Create a home.html file inside the docroot folder, where index.css is stored. The home.html file looks like the following: !doc type html public //w3c//dtd html 4.01 transitional / and www.w3.org web link. HTML head link rel equals style sheet type equals text, CSS ref equals index.css. Meta HTTP equiv equals content type content equals text /HTML, charset equals u.t.f. 8. Title insert title here, title /head. Body script type equals text, JavaScript. Function process elements, style. 4. var I equals 0, I elements.length, I++. Elements I. Style.display equals style. Function update options value. Var hide elements equals document.get elements by class name hidden. Var show elements equals document.get elements by class name value. Process elements hide elements, none. Process elements show elements, block. /script. Exclamation mark on submit equals this dot action equals document.get element by adop. Options document.get element by adop. Selected index. Value, dash. Form action equals /n method equals post. Welcome to AtoonInfocom. BR. Operation, selected equals op name equals op on change equals update options this dot selected index. Value. Option value equals select option /option. Option value equals create folder, option. Option value equals delete, option. /select per/br. Div class equals hidden up file create delete down file list get link hid equals Dropbox path input type equals text name equals Dropbox path / div. Input type equals submit value equals submit. /form. /body. /html. The index.css file has the following code snippet in it. Form. Background, WebGet gradient linear, bottom, left 175px, from #cccccc, to #EEE. Background, Moz linear gradient bottom, #CCCCCC, #EEE175px. Margin auto. Position relative. Width: 350px. Height: 350px. Font family: Tahoma, Geneva, sans serif. Font size: 14px. Font style: italic. Line height: 24px. Font weight: bold. Color: number 09C. Text decoration: none. WebKit border radius: 10px. Moz border radius: 10px. Border radius: 10px. Padding: 10px. Border: 1px. Solid number 999. Border: inset 1px. Solid number 333. WebKit box shadow: 0px. 0px. 8px. Rigba 0, 0, 0, 0.3. Moz box shadow: 0px. 0px. 8px. Rigba 0, 0, 0, 0.3. Box shadow: 0px. 0px. 8px. Rigba 0, 0, 0, 0.3. Textria #feedback. Width: 375px. Height: 150px. Textria.message. Display block. Input button. Width: 100px. Position absolute. Right: 20px. Bottom: 20px. Background: number 09C. Color: #FFF. Font family: Tahoma, Geneva, sans serif. Height: 30px. WebKit border radius: 15px. Moz border radius: 15px. Border radius: 15px. Border: 1p. Solid number 999. Input button hover. Background: #FFF. Color: number 09C. Textria focus: input focus. Border: 1px. Solid number 09C. Img A. Display none. #obj. Display none. Hidden. Display none. Here you have worked with 3 different flows. First, you deploy a localhost: 8081/auth, and authorize the Dropbox application. Then you can call localhost: 8081/home. To deploy the application code in the Mule server, go to Run as Mule application. The Mule server will deploy your application. How to do it? Open the browser and enter localhost: 8081/auth. Once you enter the URL in the browser, it will redirect you to the Dropbox site and open a screen that looks like the following screenshot. Now click on the Allow button. How to do it? Enter the URL localhost: 8081 web link. Here, you can create a folder using the selected operation shown in the following screenshot. How to do it? Once you click on the Submit button, you will see an output similar to the following screenshot. How to do it? Open your Dropbox account. You will see that a folder is created with the name Test Dropbox. Similarly, you can run the deployment for Unit 4. For that, you will have to download the Selenium IDE testing plugin on Firefox. Once you download the testing plugin, a part of the IDE is completed. Restart Firefox. After restarting, go to Tools and select Selenium IDE. Enter localhost: 8081/home, select the operation, and click on the Submit button. Then stop recording in Selenium IDE. How to do it? Now you have to convert the unit test case into an appropriate format. Go to Options, Format, Java, Unit 4, Remote Control. How to do it? You will see that the unit test case is created. Copy this test case and paste it in your application. How to do it? You can create such a test case in your application as well. How to do it? How it works? In this section, You will see how to deploy the unit test case in Mule Studio. First, you have to import 3 Selenium jar files: Serializer 2.7.1, Selenium Java 2.31.0, and Selenium Server Standalone 2.31.0. How it works. Go to the command prompt. Run the Selenium Server Standalone 2.31.0.jar file using the following command: Java jar Selenium Server Standalone 2.31.0.jar. On execution, you will see a screen similar to the following screenshot. How it works. Go to your application and right-click on the test case class. Go to Run as Unit. How it works. If your unit test case runs successfully, you can see in your Dropbox account. A folder is created automatically in Dropbox.